Those who rush ahead don't get very far, which is a quote from Lao Tzu, Master Lao Tzu, in chapter 24 of the Tao Te Ching, which is my favorite book. And today we're going to be talking about, are you sending too many emails? And in case you haven't made the connection yet, so there's a lot of people who will rush ahead and they will just sign up for Klaviyo. By the way, if you do that, make sure that you use my Klaviyo link, so I can get attributed to your Klaviyo plan, which means that I will get a commission fee, even though like Klaviyo doesn't really pay that high in commissions. Like it's probably my like least lucrative partners. But let's talk about you and your store. Okay, so the question is, are you sending too many emails, and or are you not sending enough emails? You can see here is a campaign calendar that I actually show to potential clients on these calls. And as you can see, so for example, very simple rule of thumb, like this channel, all this channel is about is giving you simple rules of thumb that are easy to understand and actually very practical. Because I feel like when I watch other YouTube videos, not just in this space but others as well, they kind of tell you the answer without actually telling you an answer, and then it kind of just all comes down to like, oh, like buy my course or come and work with me, something like that. But just as a very simple rule of thumb, okay, so if you have an e-commerce, this is just my experience, okay, take it with a grain of salt. I haven't scaled an 8-figure e-commerce store of my own yet, but should you even listen to me, so I've been doing this for like 7 years, generated over $30 million for my clients, including 2 Fortune 500 companies. From email marketing, I don't do TikTok, I don't do Pinterest, I don't do meta ads. I do email marketing mostly with Klaviyo. Okay, so yeah, in my experience, if you just started an e-commerce store and let's say you make anything less than, let's say, 20K USD per month, for 3 months in a row, that is like an average. If you have like one good month, then it doesn't automatically level you up in this game. Like it needs to be consistent. But if you're making less than that, honestly, in my opinion, just sign up for Klaviyo. Just use the Klaviyo like default emails. Maybe replace the logo and make sure that the links work. Abandoned cart, maybe browse abandonment, just like 2 emails in each. A welcome series. Try to collect some more subscribers using a pop up. Make sure it doesn't trigger automatically, but yeah, like maybe after like 30 seconds, let's say, just as a simple example. And if you're not making 20K per month, don't look at this video. Okay, look at my other video about 3 best flows. I go in detail about them. I think it was actually my first video on the YouTube channel, but also if you're listening on a podcast, it's the first one. Okay, so 3 best flows. So watch that one or listen to that one. But if you're making above 20K, but let's say less than 100, then yeah, like maybe have some more emails in your flows. Maybe send like 1 email a week, email campaign. Actually, I think for a lot of stores that make, yeah, like above 30, $40,000, that's actually where it does make sense to talk to someone like me or elsewhere. But quick information. So as you can see, I'm still quite new to publishing all of this content. And if you can see, I don't have that many subscribers, most of which, by the way, are guys trying to upsell me their YouTube scripting service. Like that's most of my views currently, and my mom. Okay. Um, and that also means I will probably be cheaper than all of the other guys posting on YouTube. It's just a simple thing. If you watch this video 2 years from now, maybe that's not the case anymore. Okay. Um, all right. So yeah, that's just a quick plug. But yeah, like if you make like above 30, that's when you can really start thinking about campaigns. Okay. And I just wanted to make this point. Those who rush ahead don't get very far. So if you, I don't know, somehow have a list, by the way, don't buy lists because it will kill your deliverability. And deliverability is key in Klaviyo. Okay. Like realistically in email marketing, there are 2 metrics that you should pay attention to. There's the total revenue generated, which is important, and the open rates, and that's it. And your average open rate should be above 30%. Some Klaviyo niches, sometimes Klaviyo likes to tell you that it's above 40%, which is still okay. Make sure that all of the emails that you send have this little thing here, like if someone can receive email marketing. All right, Klaviyo is pretty good at telling you if someone is able to send it. And whenever you, like, let's say if you were previously using MailChimp, just a simple example, and now you migrated over to Klaviyo, this kind of counts as if you, even if you're using the same email, I don't know, contact@mystore.com, even if you're using the same email and you have been sending emails before, this was not a fart. I just adjusted my position on the seat. So even though you have been using this email before, it still counts as a new email domain. So you need to warm it up. So what that means, usually, like, let's say if you make above 100K per month and you have like, I don't know, 10,000, let's just say like 10,000 people on your email list because you haven't done a great job of collecting emails. Maybe it's a high AOV niche. This is a simple example, and you haven't sent any emails. So in this case, if whenever I start working with clients like this, it has to be like 2 to 3 weeks of just sending flow emails. Good thing about flows is they get sent like one by one. Okay, they get sent one by one because they get triggered based on some sort of action, and this is also a great way to warm up your email uh, domain. You can also use some other like more advanced warm up tools. Like I'm looking at the actually three first articles that came up on from Klaviyo Help Center, from the Klaviyo Help Center about this. So yeah, maybe like you can read those if you want to. But if you just want a simple rule of thumb, just activate your flows, make them run like for 3 to 4 weeks if you really want to be, you know, proper, like careful. And if you have an email list of like 10,000 people and you have been, there's a metric in Klaviyo, it's called received email. Okay. Right. So you can see this on the Klaviyo dashboard below analytics metrics, and then you can search for received email. And this is an actual client. This is my face here at the bottom. And it's kind of like I wanted to add this extra proof that this is actually a Klaviyo account that I have access to. I don't know a better way to send like proof of this without sharing the client name as well. But here, as you can see, like the little spikes when we're sending campaigns. This is a really well warmed up email list. But if you're just starting out, and then Gmail and Klaviyo can see that you've been sending, I don't know, like 50 emails a day because of the flows, okay, like abandoned cards, stuff like that. And then out of all of a sudden you're going to send out an email to 10,000 people, most of which wouldn't even open because you haven't been engaging them. That's really bad for deliverability, okay? And it's really going to harm your domain reputation, and it will be bad. So don't do that. I try to get stores out of like the spam folder, and it's a hassle. Usually it leads to we need a new website domain or like you need to like whitelist or white label the domain. It takes ages, and you need to create new email accounts, and it's a hassle. And by the way, just a quick insider on this. So I worked with, I used to work at an agency for 5 years where I was taking care of anything between 5 to 10 clients at any point in time. So like I think it was about like 50 clients a year, something like that. So 50 times, or even if you were like really conservative, maybe we had a lot of like clients that are staying, like 30 clients per year times 7, 210 clients managed. So out of those, always the ones that have issues seems to be domains that don't end with .com. Okay, it's a super stupid and simple thing, and Gmail likes to be like, oh, we're so advanced, our spam filters are so advanced. But realistically, they will mostly be putting things into spam if it's a weird email address, or if it's .com, or if there's a lot of images, okay, and a lot of offers. So yeah, don't rush ahead because you won't get very, very far. This is an actual. I also wanted to put into context a limiting belief that I see in a lot of e-commerce stores, which is kind of like the caveat to this Lao Tzu quote that I'm absolutely love with, which is maybe you don't run fast enough, and then you also won't get very far. So what you have to realize is all of your competitors are sending a bunch of emails. This is a simple example. Like, let's say if a store is between like 50 to 200k, 50 to 500k, let's just put that range in there. It's like, let's say my most of my clients fell into that range, more like 100 to 500k. um there have been obviously bigger ones, there were some smaller ones, but like 8 to 12 campaigns per month, this is maybe what you came to this video for. 8 to 12 campaigns a month, I think, is a really good place to start. If you came here for some practical examples, if you're sending less than 8, then like maybe if it's 6 because you send every like 3 to 4 days, something that I do for some of my clients, it could make sense if the list isn't that big, and um, maybe you're still like in the warm up process, and maybe you don't want to spend like more money on like more campaigns, or like time and all of that stuff. 6 is still fine, but I'd prefer 8. 8 to 10, I think, is a really good place to start. And if you have a really big list, then you can go um, ahead with more of the segmentation. By the way, check out my video on segmentation because it's a really misinterpreted topic in email marketing. It is also the number one thing that clients get falsely sold on by other email guys who are auditing accounts that are managed by other email guys, and they're trying to outcompete them. Oh, your segmentation is terrible. Whereas, and then realistically, what has to happen? Let me just go to this segmentation part of this little sheet in here. So this is a good segment, okay? Engage 90 plus created 60. So this is like, it can tell you a lot of things by your list if you create this segment. Make sure you check out my full video and episode on segmentation. But yeah, like you can see, you can do list cleaning. That's another video there. Um, and where am I? I want to go here. Yeah, this is an actual example of email campaigns that we sent for this one specific client, and you can see the segmentation here. So they were doing these, let's say, drops in the fashion niche. Like, they have new collections every Friday. So for those, I like to target the whole like list, like all active profiles. There's no shame in that because our average open rates are great, which means we can send to everyone who can receive emails and never spam and never bounce. I like to exclude those people. And then for what we do as a counter, like every action has an equal and opposite reaction, right? So for example, we introduced also this this was a blog email. We blurred it out because it's very specific. This was a blog email, very friendly, very soft selling approach, and that's another way of interpreting. Don't those who rush ahead don't get very far, because a lot of email guys are only sending sales, which is why I like to do blog emails where we can send to engage 180, which is a really engaged segment for this client because our list is extremely engaged and we do an incredible job. um, and we got like 50-60% open rate on this one. I have some other screenshots, and I don't want to pull this up for you because if I pull that up, then my train of thought will stop, and then the video will or a podcast episode will flow less. So yeah, just bear with me. This one had a better, clearly, I think it's pretty logical to think that this segment or this email will have a better open rate than this one, no matter what the offer is, no matter what the subject line is, no matter if you whatever sender name you tested, because we send to a more engaged audience. That's the number one thing that will determine your open rates. Okay, like I would love to say, as a copywriter, I'm a massive copywriting fan. Um, I'm a really big fan of like one sentence per paragraph, old school, Gary Halbert newsletter, scientific advertising by Claude Hopkins, all of that. I love that. But segmentation will determine open rates, okay? Mostly. It will have the biggest impact. So, yeah, with that being the case, if you have a really big list, you can really segment it down to, the most engaged audience, and you can send the most emails to them. So just in general, your most engaged 20% of your audience in my opinion, should receive all of your emails, unless it's a very specific niche. This is just what I've seen. I try to test all of this very complicated stuff about, oh, like if for like Gmail, we're getting higher opens, so we should use a bigger segment. And for Yahoo, it's a lower. I tried all of that. I tried very specific product upsells, which in my experience makes sense for less than 1% of e-commerce stores in this kind of range, right? Like to 0 to 1 mil. 0 to 1 mil, if your store is like very specific, then it can make sense. All right. So as I said before, you have 10 products, but one of them makes 70% of the sales. In that case, yes, it makes sense. And you have products that are clearly created for that one. Like, let's say, I don't know, some kind of fashion item, like a jacket, and you have a shirt that goes really well with that jacket. And let's say that jacket is the number one bestseller. 70% of your sales come from that jacket. It must be a really amazing leather jacket that Zara haven't created. There are other providers. um, yeah. So this is not, I don't know, this is not a ad for Zara. But okay, that's your best selling product. This is a shirt that goes really well with it. Then it makes sense to promote it to the buyers. But even then, what I noticed is there are some people, especially the older elderly audience, who might find that a little bit too intrusive. Like, oh, like, why do you still keep track of like what I bought before? And with that being the case, I love making emails that are really specific, but people oftentimes don't like it, especially with this whole like meta customer data BS. Okay. um, that is happening. People don't like it when you know too much, even though you know it. You should a lot of times pretend you don't know that they just, for example, a win back flow is a good example of this. Like, oh, we noticed you haven't engaged in 60 days. Like, you actually know this information, you know it, and you can set up an automated email that goes out on the 61st day, but you still shouldn't say it, which is a really interesting like aspect of email marketing, where a lot of email marketers are selling you on like, yeah, like every email is going to be very tailor made. But if you really think about it, do you want your emails to be that tailor made? Because it might alienate your audience, because they will now know that you keep all of this data, which you do. So that's kind of like the funny part of this, which is why I'm a really big fan of segmenting based on engagement levels, sending 8 to 10 campaigns per month. Very simple. This is the 80/20. You send soft selling. There are some blog emails. Like, even by the way, jewelry, I think, is one of those niches that is the hardest to do blog emails for, because like, what do you write about? Like the history of, I don't know, jewelry, like how it's made. Like, people don't want to know how it's made. Like, they want to know it's real. They want to know it's real. They want to know it's diamond. They want to know it's high status somehow. Maybe they want to make it tailor made, but yeah, anyway, like, for even for them, it can be, well, what we notice, especially for like if it's a spiritual type of jewelry that you're selling, they like it if it's like people read like zodiac sign type of emails, or like something personal. Like, if the big advantage that you have, if you make less than 1 mil per month, if you make more than that, make sure you reach out to me, and we can make more, um, how should I say, a bigger plan for you, where we can send more emails because you have a bigger list. Therefore, we can send more emails. You have money to pay for more campaigns, because that's kind of what it comes down to as well in the agency space. We send 8 to 10 emails per month because that's all you can afford right now, if even that. Okay. So I have done campaign plans with 30 emails per month. I'm doing that for 2 clients. Okay. And it's more money, but yes, we send more emails, more targeted. Like, there are more segments that we use, and yeah, it's making more money. All right. But if you're making less than 1 mil for this, for your store, 8 to 10 emails campaigns per month is totally fine. Do this engagement, blog emails, and it can be anything random. A big advantage that you have is you can be personal, because you're not big enough for that to matter yet. Okay, because if you're too big, then you don't want to be. I mean, If you can remain personal, that's amazing. It's just big companies usually become less and less personal the bigger they get. It's just rule of thumb. This video became a lot longer than what I expected or planned for, but maybe that's okay for you. Maybe you got something interesting out of it. I really appreciate you listening to this. Make sure you remember this Lao Tzu quote. I want to make this, in Hungarian, we say keretes szerkezet, which is like kind of like a framed structure to videos. Make sure you remember this quote. Make sure you don't rush ahead. Take it step by step. And if you got this far, thank you so much. I love you. Make sure you like, subscribe, engage, all of that good stuff. And just before I end this video, I just wanted to clarify, I didn't do as many plugs before. I think I did one maybe in the first 5 minutes, but I didn't do a plug for this to this like, engage, subscribe. And I would like you to appreciate this. Okay. But yeah, make sure you do all of that. It really, really helps me a lot, and helps maybe other people um, scale their business and else. Thank you so much. Love you. Ciao.